What's going on, fam? Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Afterlife File podcast. My name is Randy, and if it's your first time here, it's nice to finally meet you. Let's fucking go. Yeah, we're doing episode 2.5 right now because I thought I was recording for like 2 hours right now, and my dumbass didn't hit the record button. But we're just gonna continue on to what we were already doing. We're just doing for this episode we're just gonna keep it simple. Reddit stories, scary stories, haunted stories, killer stories. We're doing it all. So before I start, I'm just gonna double check real fast that we're live, and then we'll get the show on the road. But I appreciate everybody hanging out. Like I said, we're only going up from here. Give me 1 second. All right, good news. We are fucking live. Let's go. You guys don't even understand how stupid I feel right now because it literally I'm telling you, it wasn't 2 hours. That's an exaggeration. But no bullshit. The last like hour and 10, I thought I was recording. It's all good though. That's too fucking funny though. But it's all good. These stories on here are really good, so I don't mind. Okay, we'll do the one that I just finished, but it was like I said, my dumb ass didn't hit record. That's on me. Real quick. All right. This one is titled Until I Woke Up by Very Emotional Laptop on the True Scary Stories subreddit. Oh, and if I didn't say what we're doing today, we're gonna check out some scary stories on Reddit. They always have good shit on there. And if you guys know, you know. But yeah, lately I've just been looking through Reddit and I was like, what the hell? There's like a lot of personal stories and they always get updated like every day. So figured we chat about a couple of them because I find it interesting. I hope you guys will too. I like true crime. I like serial killers. I like scary shit. So that's gonna be our whole thing, right? This one's called Until I Woke Up. I want to get comfortable. Don't mind me. This happened when I was around 12. My family and I traveled to Malaysia to visit relatives who lived in Sarawak. My family is known for the deep spiritual beliefs and rich traditions. Stories of spirits and supernatural encounters were common in our household. Passed down through generations, almost everyone in my family had a tale of an encounter. Be it a whisper in the night, or a shadow, or glimpse in the corner of an eye. Me, being the skeptic at that age, thought these stories were just ways to scare kids into behaving. And I feel you on that because literally same thing happened in my family when I was growing up. All the older people, that's how they did. They would fucking scare us into behaving, whether it be around Halloween time, putting on a mask or whatever. But that was definitely a thing. So I feel you on that, Mr. Very Emotional Laptop. I swear they have the weirdest names on Reddit. Okay. So he just thought he was a skeptic, so he thought he was like, they were trying to scare him into behaving or whatever. One of my uncles ran a small money transfer business, exchanging foreign currency for Malaysian money. His work often took him to nearby neighboring cities like Cebu or Selangor, and I looked up to him so much that I'd like to tag along whenever he let me. One night during a family dinner, my uncle mentioned that he needed to meet a business partner in Cebu. This is one of those neighboring cities. The following week, he asked if I wanted to come along, and of course, I jumped at the chance. A few days later, we left for Cebu, and if you've never been, Cebu is beautiful. Even now, I go back just to soak in the atmosphere whenever my mom and I visit Malaysia. Anywho, most of the trip passed in a blur, as I just consisted of me following my uncle to different venues and eating as much local food as I could. But eventually, it was time to head home. The drive back started out quiet and peaceful. It was late, and after the excitement of the trip, I was just drowsy. You know those car rides where you feel the hum of the engine in a gentle way and it just kind of puts you to sleep? He was just kind of dozing. I feel it like when I get in a car and I'm not driving. Yeah, it might be a nap time. But that's exactly what happened to me as I began resting my head on the seatbelt and slowly closed my eyes into a deep slumber until I woke up. There was a sound, knocking, sharp, insistent knocks that jolted me awake. I was still in the car, but we were driving along a winding road on a mountainside. The dark trees closing in around us. As I glanced at my uncle, his face was tense. Both hands were clenched on the wheel. Normally, he'd have radio on, humming along to some tune, but that time the car was dead silent. I heard knocks again. This time it was on the back right window. The sound was too loud and too deliberate to be pebbles or branches hitting glass. I looked back, trying to make sense of it, but before I knew I could turn fully, my uncle's voice had cut through the air and said, in a stern, cold way, "Look forward." I froze. He sounded different, like he was barely holding back a tremor, like he was about to cry. He told me to keep my eyes forward, to look down if I had to, but to not turn around. My stomach twisted. Confusion and fear swirled together as the knocks grew louder, moving from one window to the next. Each hit sharper and more insistent, like something was trying to get in. My hands were clenched, the seatbelt, and my body trembling as I felt the urge to turn around, to look. But my uncle's command echoed in my head. Then, as if on cue, knocking escalated, pounding from every window. The sound became deafening, drowning out even the rev of the engine. My chest tightened, and tears started slipping down my cheeks as the car began speeding up. The engine roaring louder, trying to outrun whatever was out there. Then silence. In an instant, knocking stopped, and the only thing left was the sound of my uncle's shaky voice on the low rumbling of the car. I don't remember much of the drive home. My uncle kept talking, forcing a conversation about school or friends. Anything to distract us from what just happened. But I could see it in his eyes. Beneath his calm mask, he was just as shaken as I was. He was just trying to hide it. Years later, I came back to visit my hometown with my mom, and one night my uncle finally told me the full story. He explained that the mountain road that we had driven on that night was haunted. He admitted that while I slept, he had seen something, a flash of black in the rearview mirror, almost like a shadow darting across the back seat. And just before I woke up, he'd heard it too. A whisper from somewhere behind us, "Look forward." It still gives me chills to this day that the warning never came from him. That's crazy. That's actually wild. Imagine you remembering this whole thing and he remembers it too, but when he tells you about it, he doesn't say that the warning came from him. Like, he should have been like, yeah, I said that. No, he's like, no, I didn't say that. That's tough. That's tough. We can redo this one. But before we do, definitely checking the battery on this camera. That was good though. What did you guys think of that first story? A lot of these stories on Reddit are like that. They're like weird, like first person experiences, like POV kind of stories that are like people's own experiences of like scary shit. Cause like apparently that like the real world, like that happens all the time. That's why, like, when you're out there, this next story that I got pulled up, we're about to read out, like, just keep in the back of your mind, whenever you're out there in the real world, you gotta be on your shit, because just wait, you'll see right now. This guy's, you're gonna be like, this guy dodged a bullet there. Like I'm saying, just when I read this one, just keep in the back of your mind. When you're out there in the real world, you want to be on your P's and Q's because anything can happen to anybody. The story's by Ultra Local 1. I think I almost got kidnapped. Earlier this year, when I was still 14, I was walking home from my friend's house. It was around sunset, but I was on a relatively popular street, so I wasn't too anxious. As I was walking, a man holding a grocery bag stopped me. He was an older man, a few inches taller than me. I immediately got nervous. I didn't really interact with people that well. I feel you on that. The man said something along the lines of, "Hey, will you take this bag down to that guy down there?" I didn't see a guy, and I immediately got a bad gut feeling. So I wasn't about to take a bag from a random man because I was so nervous. I kind of stumbled around on my words, and I said no in a shaky voice and apologized. I walked away as fast as I could, and about 20 feet, there was this man. The direction I was walking, he sat in a white van parked on the street, going in the same direction I would have gone. Middle-aged guy, but with his leg out of the car as if he was about to step out. I'm a generally paranoid person, but I'm not so sure if I would have made an unfair assumption. But this has really creeped me out. On the rest of my walk, which was mostly down the same street, I couldn't stop looking behind me, and the man just stood there with the bag looking at me. I called my grand and asked her to pick me up, and now I always keep my guard up when I'm out there and I'm walking alone. Fuck, what do you guys think of that shit? First of all, when I'm out there in public, I'm not doing favors for nobody because I don't know. People are crazy. Like I'm telling you guys, people are fucking actually crazy. You can't trust them whatsoever. Because then you end up in a fucking bathtub and you got some underground doctor trying to take your organs out and shit. And that's like, why even put yourself in that position? Honestly, it ain't worth it. Couldn't be me. Will never be me. I'm too fucking smart. They won't catch me lacking. And I think I'm too annoying. If I ever did get kidnapped, I would hope that the kidnapper would bring my ass back because I would be asking them where we're going to eat and shit. Can't. I'm looking for another story. These stories are good. This one looks pretty good. It's called My Wife Has Been Standing Still for Hours by Short Story One on the Scary Stories subreddit. My wife has been standing still for hours. My wife has suddenly stopped still, and before she stopped still, we were arguing about finances, about me. She wasn't happy about the situation with our marriage and everything in general. I became angry, and in the middle of her anger, she stopped still. She had that angry face on her and that body language that still showing signs of anger. But she was still as a statue. Then I tried to get her to stop messing around. I went upstairs and tried to cool off and went out. Then my eldest teenager called me to say that my wife is still standing still. That's a tongue twister. What the fuck? I came home to find my wife still standing still, and my eldest was also confused. I tried to calm my daughter down, and it must have been 5 hours at this point that my wife has been standing still. It didn't make any sense, and I tried annoyingly telling my wife to snap out of it. Nothing came back, and I wanted her to shout at me and tell me that I'm useless, something isn't right. You know it's bad when you want... I get that when I have those fever dreams, when you have like a serial killer or like Michael Myers like chasing you in your dream. But then you wake up out of that dream and it's the middle of the night. You're like, fuck, I just want to be around civilization. Are you guys like that too? Because I know that's my first thing is when I have a nightmare like that or like a fever dream. As soon as I wake up, I always try to get like a cold glass of water, and I'm like, fuck, I wish it was like 3 p.m. so I could just go to Walmart and see people, just regular people. Are you guys like that too? So I feel this guy on that. So he's saying he just wishes she was like bitching at him or yelling at him or whatever. Instead of like, he thinks she's acting, but we're about to find out right now. My eldest daughter started to cry and shout at her mother to stop whatever she was doing. Then I saw a fly land on my wife's shoulder, and it never flew off. Another 5 hours went and passed, and that fly was still on my wife's shoulder. My wife was still standing still. Then my daughter came down all worried, and she was crying again. When she touched my wife, she was suddenly standing still. My daughter wanted to hug my wife, but when my daughter's hand touched my wife's shoulder, my daughter is now stuck. Her face is in the crying motion, and I bewildered now. I try to shout at my daughter to snap out of it, but now she is just like my wife. Now it's my wife, my daughter, and that fly who are standing still. They even their facial motion and bodily movement are still standing still. Then when my wife's parents came over, when they touched my wife, they also became standing still. But when my wife's best friend came over and touched my wife, my daughter's shoulder, she became standing still as well. This was becoming absurd, and I was out of wind with hardly any idea of what to do. I called over my friend, and he had an idea of what to do. He told me to get out for a couple of minutes. Then I heard a chainsaw, and my friend sawed my daughter's hand, and then my daughter was moving, and well as my wife's best friend, my daughter was screaming in pain, but her chopped off hand was still attached to my wife. That's fucking creepy as hell. What the hell? What the hell? So what would make everybody end up standing still like that and you fucking just touch them and now you're stuck too? What would even make somebody be like that? That's crazy. Yeah, I had that one saved for a little bit. I wanted to read that one. That one was interesting. Damn, so now what? The daughter only got one hand. She's a fucking pirate. That's mean. I need to stop. We've read that one. Okay, let me check on the battery and then we'll start up this next one. And actually, we'll do a little... I didn't even remind you guys to drink water. I didn't remind you guys to grab a snack. I didn't remind you guys to fucking grab your poison of choice. What the hell am I doing, man? But I just want to take a second to say I fucking appreciate you guys. I promise to God I appreciate every one of you guys that watch my videos. Because I ain't gonna lie, this shit's fun as fuck. And it gives me something to do. It's a hobby. It's something I've always wanted to do. So this is my friendly reminder. While I'm checking the battery real quick, go grab a snack. Go get your poison of choice. This is the Afterlife File podcast. And like, we're just dabbling in different things. I just want to get different ways of getting content. So this is like my little subreddit, scary stories, paranormal corner. Like I said, on Reddit, there's a lot of good stories. So if you guys have Reddit, you can read along with me, and I think it'll be good. But yeah, these last couple days, I was like thinking of what to film before episode 3, because I wanted to put out something anyways before episode 3. Episode 3 is going to be The Conjuring House, about an hour-long podcast on... Dude, that place is a mess. First of all, yeah, that place is just... They need to get that place together. But like I said, the last couple of days I was just thinking of like, what can I like put out before episode 3? And I want to put out a good hour of just talking to you guys and just hanging out and reading a couple scary stories and seeing what we think about them. Oh, and also, this would be a good time to mention it. Also, I want to, in the description of this video, I'm going to put like a what would Randy do? Kind of like, and you can just you can submit your questions, and so just, I would read it as if I'm putting myself in your shoes, and I would tell you what I would do in that situation. So, and I'm not an expert on nothing, but I think it'd be funny. So that'll be that segment, and then maybe once a week I'll read them, and that'll be a segment in the video as well. What would Randy do? And it'll be me just trying to put myself in your shoes. And maybe it could be like the advice column part of the podcast. But like I said, so far we're having fun with this. So far I'm really enjoying hanging out with you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying hanging out with me. These videos are only getting better. And like I said, now is your little time to go get your snacks, go get your poison of choice, go get a drink, go get refreshments. Yeah, I hope we all got our shit. I hope we all got our snacks. We got our drinks. For me today, it's root beer. But yeah, we're gonna keep this show on the road. We got another story here by JN Made 2001 on the Scary Stories subreddit. This is fun. I'm liking this a lot. You never know what you're gonna get with these stories, for real. Okay. This one goes, a story unlike any you've heard before. To put it bluntly, I've had a rough life. I grew up particularly poor and with the narcissistic parents to boot. What I've become should come as no surprise. I've been fascinated by the wilderness for as long as I can remember. The scenic beauty, the calming serenity. Having grown up in a rural Appalachia, a great chunk of my life has been spent outdoors. This candle right here is going crazy. Should have an EVP going or something. That's crazy. Okay. It's where I belong though. That's where they think. Appalachia, that's like Eastern US. During my adolescence years, I've often found myself being drawn to the wilderness. It was a form of escape. It was the only time I felt in control of my own life. And by my late teens, I was exceptionally skilled and seasoned outdoorsman. As I grew older, I went hiking and camping as much as possible. I explored and mapped countless unmarked trails and took a job in lumberjacking. And in spite of all the lighting trauma, the lingering trauma, all of the fractures and scars of my childhood left, I was content. It was my typical MO sitting by a fire, listening to the radio, deep in the Appalachians. A constant throughout these trips was the lack of people. I feel you on that, man. This can be attributed to the remote locations I tend to camp, but nonetheless, I was fully anticipating me being on my lonesome for the entire trip. As night began to fall, I turned off the radio and got up to relieve myself. I feel it. Last night it was super windy, so like I got up like 3 a.m, like some shit was hitting against the window, and I was like, what the hell? And I'm usually a good sleeper too, but last night for whatever reason that was the night that it was gonna fucking wake my ass up, and woke up at 3 and just stayed up, honestly. It was actually funny. I woke up at 3 and I was like, damn, this is the perfect time to record. But then again, it was like super windy outside, and it was like, you know what I mean? This candle's going crazy. It smells good though. It's like a vanilla bean candle. But I definitely feel like I fucking woke up this morning. Think I came to the fridge, got like a cold glass of water. You know how it is at like 3 a.m. It's like that glacier feeling. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a good time though so far. I'm enjoying these stories. I'm enjoying just coming and recording and hanging out with you guys. But yeah, let's get back to the story. I just smoked, so I'll fucking go off on a tangent. I know me. He got up to relieve himself in the middle of the night. That's when I had noticed it, a faint glow of fire by a nearby campsite directly behind me where I had been visiting the past several hours. I could distinguish the glow as one of emanating from a fire, but I couldn't see or make out people. What really struck me as odd was I never heard anything. Voices, them approaching, them setting up camp. I didn't know what to think or what to do. But one thing was for certain, I had visitors. That's crazy. So these people like snuck up on this dude and just... How do you not hear that though? That's weird as fuck. How do you not hear people setting up a whole campsite to where they build a fire and you still don't hear it? That's wild. Well, he's saying he had visitors now, so we're gonna see what happens. After going about my business, I sat back down and tried not to think about it. Attempting to comprehend or make sense of the situation was pointless. They were here, and that's the end of it. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me, and as night was in full swing, I decided to go and investigate. I began to walk towards the camp, an almost casual stroll. That was until I got within 100 yards. I had been walking extremely slowly, and until I reached and stopped the edge of the clearing beyond the dying campfire was a tent, and I could only see the outline of 2 people inside. Due to a lantern or some kind of light source So it was like glowing. Okay. He's painting the picture. It was in this moment everything changed. My parents had degraded me, made me feel worthless, and stripped me of any control my entire life. And I've been wanting, all I have ever wanted was this control. These people, they were in my home, my playground. I watched them. I was aroused. A million scenarios ran through my head. I couldn't tell you how long I sat there, but eventually the light flickered off. Indicating they were settling in for the night. I knew that I could leave. I knew that watching them should be as far as it goes, but it wasn't enough. They needed to be aware of my presence. I wanted them to bend to my will. Okay, so it's going in a dark direction, but from this guy's perspective, what the fuck? Like I said, you guys gotta just buckle in, and because you never know what's gonna go on in these stories. Like, I feel like this guy's about to trip out on this couple. All right, let's see. I calmly approached the tent, perceptive of any sudden sounds or movement. I began stroking the tent with my hand. This went on for about a minute until the light turned on, illuminating myself and two hikers inside. They gasped and began flailing wildly inside of the tent. I was extremely turned on, and without even thinking about it, I grabbed a hold of the tent, shaking it violently. Two women jumped out of the tent. Darting off into the trees, I chased after them. I can't tell you how long I ran for, but then I stopped. The woods were quiet, eerily quiet. I knew they'd likely sought hiding in foliage or behind a tree, so I sat where I was, waiting intently, listening for any sudden movement or footsteps. But there was nothing. Eventually, I had come to my terms with the fact that they had gotten away. But in spite of that, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't even contain myself anymore. I buckled up my pants and did what he did on the forest floor. My God. They're not scared. They're not scarred the way I've been scarred. They left because of my power. I'd finally been in control of my own life and the lives of others around me. This guy is tripping. What? Okay, I'm kind of glad I read that one live because that one's fucking wild. Okay, I don't even want to think about that one. That one kind of gives me the chills. That one's kind of fucked up, no? What do you guys think about that one? That one's fucking, that's like some Jason Voorhees, Camp Crystal Lake. Like you wander upon people, and that's what he decided to do. My God. I'm just gonna double check the camera, everything, and we'll get right back to it. Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, how traumatized are we all from that last one? What the actual fuck? I swear to God, you never know what you're gonna get. And look at this candle going crazy. Now you wanna chill out when I say something about it. Okay, this next story is from your Consti on the Scary Stories subreddit 11 days ago. I think I experienced a mimic. I'm really confused and want to know what I truly experienced that day, because I'm even typing this out gives me goosebumps. Okay, so this one happened pretty recently. This happened the summer of 2019 during the morning of I believe July or August. I was on vacation with my grandma, grandpa, and 2 younger siblings. It was Friday morning, and around 9 a.m. my grandma had told me that she would go shopping area with my grandpa and 2 siblings, and I would stay alone in the house. Let me explain how our house in the village is like. We have 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room area are connected. Then there are 2 rooms in the main bedroom and the bathroom. Me and my siblings used to sleep on 3 sofa beds we had just for some context. The door of the house has kind of a curtain in it, and it's tradition Greek that makes noise when somebody enters the house, or even if there's any air. My grandma usually leaves this door open during the summer because it's already too hot, and we would only close it if during the afternoon or night. The door of the house was closed. My bad, I almost got lost. The door of the house was closed that my grandma and I didn't want to open it at all. I remember being in that one section of the living room that door cannot face. I was making some TikToks and scrolling through the app when I suddenly heard a door opening and the curtains making the noise when somebody enters the house. I heard footsteps behind me. I guess my grandparents and siblings were home already, so I called out with my back facing the door, "Grandma, you came already?" And I got no answer. Again, "Grandma, you came home?" Nothing. I turned back and I saw the door was never open and no one had entered the room. I remember being confused, physically ill when I came to the realization. Many weird things have happened to that house since that day. I'm 18 now, and I went for vacation only this year in August for a week. I remember one night, it was around 2 a.m. I had laid down on the sofa, bed, and tried to sleep when suddenly the fridge started making really weird banging sounds, and I heard footsteps behind me on the floor. And I felt like someone had sat on the bed. Weirdly, that night was the night a tiny night butterfly came inside the house, and no matter how much I tried getting it out, it just wanted to stay there. So that my great-grandma, who passed away in 2014, was living right down the house. I don't know if this has any connection to the story, but the next morning I found out the butterfly dead on the floor right beside the sofa in the bed. That's crazy. So he lived like in the living room pretty much, like on one of those like sofa bed things. That's crazy. And in the living room, you would fucking hear everything. Oh my god. I don't know if we'll do this story right now or later. Oh, this one looks pretty good. Oh my god, this one's fucking long. We'll do a different one. I know you guys see this candle going. Everybody put in the comment section what's your snack of choice? What's your drink of choice? Mine is usually like a Dr. Pepper, but switch it up. Today I got a root beer. Okay. This one is called The Lights in the House. I have often had creepy things happen to me in my house. I have always been terrified. For a bit of background information before I tell the story, my house was built in the early 1900s or so I've been told. I currently live in this house with my parents and have always lived there. My bedroom is small, but I was convinced it is haunted. Okay. I would have things fall off shelves and hit me, watch the charger be pulled off the wall right in front of me, have things on my desk move around. At first, I believe My desk was haunted because it was my father's and he lived in a super creepy house growing up, so I removed the desk from my room, but things never stopped. Now, on that present day, I was babysitting my 9-year-old sister. It was late and I was getting ready to put her to bed. I turned off all the lights in the house and tucked her into bed. When I left the bedroom and kitchen, when I left her bedroom, the kitchen light was on. I got scared because I started hearing scratching noises. I looked for my dogs and remembered my parents had taken them to the doggy daycare when they were out. I ran to my room because he's like, fuck, there's nobody there. He's like, the dogs ain't there. He just put her to sleep. So he's the only one conscious in the house. You guys act like you guys wouldn't do the same exact fucking thing. I would be tripping. I ran back to my room, turned on the lights, and when I walked in, I started sobbing. Began begging to be left alone. And on many different occasions, I had something messing with me and only me. I had been so scared because many times I would get hurt, seemingly for nothing, like scratches and bruises from just being in the house. My mom was always convinced that I was schizophrenic, and I honestly am starting to believe it. That's sad. Like, why is his mom not like fucking believing him when he tells her this shit's going on? That's kind of crazy. When I hid in my room from whatever was happening, I felt a tug on my sleeve and I got super scared. The thing in my house loved harassing me. I heard one of my electric toys from when I was younger go off in the closet, but I was too afraid to open the door in the closet to look. I turned off the lights and hid under the covers of my bed with my headphones on, but it felt like something was whispering to me. I could hear something, but I had no idea or what it was. My parents came home past midnight. They heard me sobbing, and when they asked, I had told them. They promised me that it was probably just Grandpa. He had died when my father was 16. My parents have very strict beliefs that's supernatural and believe that they can't hurt you as such. So I'm just worried and out of my mind. I know it doesn't really affect me if the light switches on, but I'm still terrified of whatever wants to make me scared. That's crazy. That's another good question, guys. Have any of you guys ever lived in like an actual haunted house? I'd love to know that. I never have. And I'll tell you, I've never had a paranormal experience. I've never lived in a haunted house. I've always wanted to, though. I always think it'd be interesting, but personally, no, never. But comment down below, definitely, if you guys have actually lived in a haunted house. I'd love to know that. And if you feel like typing out your story in the comment section, I will definitely read it on the next episode. Because that's what we're doing now. We're just reading people's experiences, seeing what we think about them. Because some of these are fucking like, that's sad. That last one, his mom's telling him he's fucking schizophrenic because he's hearing things and seeing things. Like, you never know. Like, people be right sometimes. Yeah, people definitely be right sometimes. Okay, we'll read this next one. It's titled The Scariest Experience in My Life. A true story at the sleepover when I was 15. All right. I remember about 14 years ago when Slenderman was first taken off, my friends and I made a little game about it where one person plays Slenderman and that person has to hide in the woods somewhere, in costume sometimes. And the players have to traverse through the woods without accidentally making eye contact with you or you die in place. Okay, I've kind of played a similar game like that. I wonder if you guys have too. Once we played this game again together at the sleepover, we were 14 and 15, and it started out well enough. My friend Luke was Slenderman, and we were all sneaking through the wooded area on the property. The last thing I remember from the game of Slender itself was me and another friend successfully coming out the other side without losing, and we had started to celebrate. Luke disengaged the costume and came out to congratulate us, but then we realized our other two friends were nowhere to be found. We kept looking, but there was no one. We started yelling that it wasn't funny anymore, and they should come out. But my friend's dad came out and helped us look. We never found anyone. An hour and a half passed, and we didn't have any cell phones yet, except for one person. So that didn't do any good. We were fucking petrified that Slenderman was real and fucking got them. I really had an eerie vibe something paranormal was at play. I may have even cried about my friends. We all decided to call the police, and right before the police got there, my two asshole friends came out of hiding. They were playing the ultimate dick prank on us and hiding on the adjacent golf course to make us think the real Slenderman was out and about and got them. We fucking did that. It was horrifying, and we had to explain it to the cops, who frowned at us and left. It was terrifying at the time, but it's a treasured Halloween memory. Okay, and that was a good story. That was like one of those, well, you had us in the first half. That's one of those. All right. The next story we'll do is called Claire by Early Donut 4914 on the Scary Story subreddit. Let's see. In a small, forgotten town tucked between dark woods and a misty mountains, people always whispered about the old library. It had been abandoned for years, and crumbling structure, while shattered windows that seemed to watch anyone who dare come near. They said strange things would happen if you stayed inside after dark. A woman named Claire, drawn by her love of ancient books and old buildings, decided to explore it. She'd heard the stories, but brushed them off as superstitions. One evening, armed with just one flashlight and a curious heart, she slipped inside. The sun dipped below the horizon. The air was very heavy and cold, filled with a musty scent and paper decay. Dust motes hung thick in the beam of her flashlight. She moved down the darkened aisles, her footsteps echoing against the creaky wooded floors. Shelves loomed around her like silent, watchful figures, and the deeper she went, the more she felt observed. At the back of the library, she found a door slightly ajar. Curious, Claire pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down. She hesitated, but was compelled to go on. Stepping cautiously into the darkness below, at the bottom, she found a small, dimly lit room and a single book lying open on the dusty table. The book seemed ancient, with strange curling letters she didn't recognize, and she ran her fingers over the pages, and a chill washed over her. The room darkened suddenly, her flashlight flickering, then faintly, she heard whispers, low, raspy voices, as if they were right beside her. Claire froze, heart pounding. The whispers grew louder, becoming a desperate, pleading voices. They seemed to swirl around her, urging her to read, commanding her. Against her better judgment, she began to sound out the words on the page. The whisper stopped, silence, and then footsteps. From above, slow, dragging footsteps that echoed down the stairs. Terrified, Claire backed into a corner, clutching her flashlight like a lifeline. The steps grew closer, each one making the floorboards groan. She saw the faint outline of a shadow descending the stairs, a figure twisted and hunched, with hollow eyes that stared straight through her. It whispered her name. Claire bolted to the door, stumbling upon the stairs, desperate to escape. She reached the main library and sprinted towards the entrance. Heart hammering, she just reached the door. It slammed shut with a deafening crash, and then she heard it. A voice behind her, low and cold. You read the words now. You are part of the story. They say the library is still there, quiet and waiting, with a new book sitting open on the table downstairs. And if you ever find yourself in that forgotten town, drawn by the tales of the haunted library, beware. For if you stay after dark, you might find Claire, still trapped inside, forever turning pages in silence, waiting for somebody else to join her story. That's crazy. That was a good one. It's probably my favorite so far. What do you guys think? And at the end of this, I want you guys to tell me which story was your favorite. You can just say number 1 was my favorite. No, number 3 was my favorite. You guys can fucking argue about it in the comments. That was a good one though, Claire. I feel like Claire was a baddie. Imagine. I feel like Claire was kind of fun. Do we do another kidnapping story, or do we do? Read the mosquito ones already. All right, we will do. Oh my God, some of these are like books. I swear to God. Okay. This one is called The Woman Who Knew. I first heard this story when I was a young kid, sometime in the 80s. It supposedly took place on a ranch in a hometown of Mexico. According to the story, a woman would tell her children if they wanted to know when they would die, they should pray a specific prayer to a certain saint. Though I can't recall the saint's name. She said that 3 days before their death, right down to the hour, they would hear 3 trumpet sounds. I think it was a female saint, but I can't recall. One day, while her kids were playing with the older children, somewhere on the ranch, the woman called a boy over and told him to let her kids know that she had passed away. The boy was confused because the woman had clearly was still alive when she spoke to him, but he ran to deliver the message to her children. When the kids got home, they found their mother lying in her bed, dead, with a candle lit on the corner of the bed. A few years after I first heard the story, we visited family friends for a gathering, likely around the 1900s. The men and kids were outside while the women remained indoors. At one point, my mom says that the woman began sharing spooky stories. She recounted the tale of a woman who foretold her own death with the trumpets, etc. And another present, who was in her mid-40s, confirmed it. She stated that the story was true and the woman mentioned was her mother. I don't remember if the lady gave out more details, but I remember my mom telling us on the drive home. That's crazy. There's a lot of spooky ones coming out of Mexico. Foreseeing your own death. Holy shit. That's like a whole other topic on its own right there. I've said it a lot though, but I have like a feeling. I'm 26, but I've got like a feeling in our lifetime we're gonna find out what happens after death. You guys put in the comment section if you guys feel the same way, or if you don't, it's fine. Either way is fine. I just want to know. But I think in our lifetimes, say like the next 50 years, we're going to find out. Like that's one of the big questions. That's like the big question. What happens after death? That one can get deep real quick. That one can get deep real fucking quick. Man. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate everybody hanging out. Put in the comment section what you guys think of these stories. If you guys want like a specific kind of story you want me to read, your experiences, I would love to read your experiences on here. So if you got a long one, type it out in the comment section. It will definitely be a part of the next episode. This is the Afterlife File podcast. And I keep saying it, man. We're only going up. I really do appreciate everybody who watches my videos. I promise the quality is going to get better and better with time. I just got to learn it, but we're getting there. This is the Afterlife File podcast. Peace.